It's an incredible story. That's the problem. It's so extraordinary it's not credible. So I need to make an impact in the first few sentences. Not too difficult when the stars of the story are former Prime Minister David Cameron and the current Prime Minister Keir Starmer. My idea was to get floating voters in marginal seats to demand the transfer of power from politicians to people. These voters decide who wins when elections are close. If they make a fair and reasonable demand at election time, any party that wants to win that election must give them what they want. The problem is to find something they can unite behind. Something beyond politics. Something that can really change things. The demand was to be Swiss-style direct democracy and a reform process that would allow us to challenge any group that was abusing power. In Switzerland, people can initiate referendums to create any law they want and stop any law they don't want. They are the sovereign power in their country. This has forced the four main parties in Switzerland to work together in a coalition government that has lasted over 50 years. The parties don't work together because they want to. It's because the Swiss initiative and referendum system makes them. For more on that, have a look at the campaign website. By 2010, I'd put tens of thousands of pounds into developing the project, Campaign for Democracy, and started raising the money to run the campaign. This involved contacting wealthy business people in what was then the Open Europe group, pro-European but wanting a reformed Europe. Many I spoke to told me of their involvement with the Conservative Party, and word got back to Cameron. Knowing that I'd eventually get through to someone who would fund the campaign, he pre-positioned the Conservatives by announcing that the Conservatives would give people
the right to initiate local and national referenda.
If you allow people to initiate referendums, then sovereignty has been transferred from Parliament to people. That was the real big society. The campaign was as good as won, and then everything fell apart. I was assaulted, a minor affair, but it ended up with me in court charged with assault. It was 2 against 1, me being the one, and so I was convicted. In those days, there was no right to be forgotten. Any competent PA tasked by their boss of finding out a bit more about me just had to put my name and the town where I lived into Google to find out that I was a convicted criminal. That put an end to the fundraising and stopped the campaign. Efforts were made to overturn the conviction, but they were stopped because of mistakes made by a lawyer and a judge. All of this being in writing. I did try to warn one of my accusers that this could end badly, a story in itself, but I ended up with a conviction for witness interference. Fortunately, the judge in that case, Philip Hughes, now retired, realised I was innocent, and so I was given a 6-month sentence instead of the normal 15 to 18 months. That should have ended everything for me, but by then I'd gone over the witness statements in the assault case. There were 6. 2 from my accusers and 4 from independent witnesses. For clarity, I laid the evidence out in a 3-column table. In the middle column, I put the accusations made against me. 10 accusations in 10 rows. In the right-hand column, I put extracts from the independent witness statements that contradicted the claims made. That column was full. The left-hand column was for statements from the independent witnesses that supported the accusations made against me. It was empty. If the CPS had done their job properly, the case would never have gone to court. Who was in charge of the CPS at that time? Keir Starmer. When I came out of prison after just 12 weeks, I got to work. I now knew I could prove I was innocent. I'd found out about the CCRC, the Criminal Cases Review Commission, a body set up by Parliament to examine possible miscarriages of justice. The evidence was collected, the CCRC forms filled out, and the case sent to them. I also got back to my campaigning work, this time targeting the Welsh Assembly elections, with the aim of introducing the system here in Wales first, where I live. The convictions were a problem, but there was a simple solution. Put everything on a website. I did this then contacted senior people in each of the Welsh parties. I told them about my situation and directed them to my website. They agreed to meet me, in spite of the convictions. I met Nick Bourne, then leader of the Conservatives in Wales, a barrister, and now Lord Bourne. I also met Kirsty Williams, then leader of the Lib Dems. I then met people in Plaid and Labour. Everything was coming together. The CCRC would sort out the convictions, and I'd done some groundwork for the campaign. There was just one loose end to tie up. One of my accusers was an ex of mine. I knew she would be devastated when the truth came out, and I also knew we'd both made mistakes, so I warned her again. Only this time in emails. Emails are admissible as evidence in court, so they were carefully worded to make sure they were just warnings. Nothing threatening, nothing offensive. Yet again the CPS messed up, and after more serious mistakes, I ended up in prison again. That is unbelievable, but everything in the criminal justice system is done in writing. Both the videos that tell what happened and the documents that prove my claims are true are at my personal website at www.grahammacarthur.info. There were still two legal avenues open to me. First sending the witness interference case to the Court of Appeal, and then on to the CCRC. But the legal system had a problem. I'd been through 3 trials. In all of them, the evidence, when properly examined, proved I was innocent. This wasn't reasonable doubt. It was clear I'd been framed. There'd been mistakes that had stopped the original assault case going to appeal, and in the last case, the Crown Prosecution Service and the Criminal Cases Review Commission had made mistakes that had sent an innocent person, me, to prison. If this had happened to someone living an ordinary life, things could have been put right. But they had happened to the person who had created an extraordinary campaign. A campaign that would have changed the course of British history. A campaign that led to a Prime Minister pre-positioning his party in extraordinary ways. When the story came out, it would devastate the reputation of the legal professions. The witness interference case did go to the Court of Appeal. I have to be careful what I say here. The problem is that court records are only kept for 5 years, so I can't prove what was sent in. All I can do is say what I could have sent in. I could have sent all the evidence, not just the evidence in the witness interference case, all of it in all of the cases, along with a recording of David Cameron saying we'd be allowed to initiate national referenda. Also enclosed, there could have been other evidence about my campaigning activities. Why wouldn't I send it in? It proved my innocence. It would also have proved an astonishing level of incompetence in the handling of my cases. It might have proved that incompetence in the legal professions had stopped a campaign that would have changed the course of British history. If this was true and the story came out, it would devastate the reputation of the legal professions. I sought leave to appeal in courtroom number 2 in Cardiff courtrooms on the 12th of March 2013. Leave to appeal was refused. Brian Leveson, was the presiding judge, and I believe the only one who saw the evidence. I don't think Mayles and Milling, the other judges, did. Leveson got the top job in the criminal justice system shortly afterwards. That should have been the end of it. In 2013, no media outlet would tell such an extraordinary story, but 2 things changed. The first was the rise of social media, not just as a source of entertainment, but as a source of news, with tens of thousands of creators all looking for attention-grabbing content. The other change was that Keir Starmer, head of the CPS when the mistakes were being made, became Prime Minister. The website that tells the story of the legal scandal is nearly ready, as is the campaign website. Since then I've been working on 2 types of video. The first are videos about the biggest problems we face and how a change of system can help us solve those problems. The others are attention getters, content designed to lead people to the website about the legal scandal. I had some accidental success late last year when I put the main video, The Starmer Scandal, The Truth, the Whole Truth, on YouTube. It was just done for embedding on my website, but it got 127,000 views. I'll be giving journalists in the mainstream media the opportunity to break the story, but I'm not relying on them. The focus will shift to social media once they've been offered it. There's been a lot of twists and turns in this story. Has there been another one recently? Starmer, who was responsible for the CPS when the mistakes were being made, has confirmed that Leveson, now aged 76, will continue as head of the Investigatory Powers Commission for a third 3-year term from the 20th of October this year. Why would a 76-year-old judge be offered another 3-year appointment?